Chapter 23. Victor and I set out on Bethel's an hour later to the other side of the island, near where Josh and I first saw the birds. Victor hadn't told me much about what we were going to do, but he'd brought an axe with him. All I had was a backpack. Once we got closer to our destination, we slowed down to a walk. "Now are you going to tell me what we're doing?" I asked, looking up at the rising moon.
"Be happy you're young,"
he replied.
"What we're doing is not for the geriatric. We're stealing venom from the Hexel beast."
Hexel beast? I thought that was just a myth.
I assure you, it's quite real. We Dargonians have seen it many times without realizing it.
What does it look like?
I suppose I should spoil the surprise. It looks like a giant flower.
I smirked. I'd think I would know if I saw a giant flower, Victor. Many people would.
Oh, you'd think. The Hexel beast is a master at hiding in plain sight, however.
How are we supposed to find it at night, then?
I saw one once, decades ago. They sleep at night. Their venom is potent.
I looked around to make sure no one was following us. What will it do to Dargo?
If we manage to slip it into his food or drink, it will slow his heart within minutes. We can only hope he hasn't mastered Josh's leeching ability, and that he will be forced to flee the body.
But his go-to location won't be waiting for him, I finished.
Exactly. By the fact he kept his skeleton rather than destroyed it, I'm hoping that means if it is gone, and he is forced to leave his host, he will simply perish.
So, I said, we get the venom, destroy the skeleton, and then poison Josh. I must have sounded worried, because Victor looked at me in the darkness.
We can save Josh once Dargo is gone. Within the Hexel beast also exists the antidote. I'll gather both secretions and be ready to administer aid. If everything goes to plan, Josh should be just fine.
It's been so long since we last went on a quest, I said, feeling a lot better.
Indeed. What did we do on the last one?
He remembered, but enjoyed making me tell him. We chased Floxen on the beach.
And
I fell into a pile of Bethel poop.
Bethels sure do eat a lot, don't they?
He chuckled. Mom had taught me about the animals on the mainland, so I knew how they compared to the ones on Dargo Island. Victor and I had tried to catch one of the blue Floxen because their fur was said to regrow hair on bald people. I still didn't know if that was true.
We're coming up on Hexel territory,
Victor said, stopping his Bethel and jumping off. I did the same. He grabbed his axe from his back and crept up a small hill to our right. When we got to the top, all I saw was a large, steep crater. It was filled with a few trees and lots of dark grass. "Is it in here?" I asked quietly.
I'm sure of it.
He stepped into the crater carefully, holding onto a vine with his free hand. I followed, wondering if we'd have enough time to climb out if things went wrong. We walked to the center of the crater, toward a small pink and yellow flower petal poking out of the ground. "Is that the Hexel beast?" I asked sarcastically.
Yes.
He was not being sarcastic. I gawked at the flower. It stuck out at least 4 inches. Victor looked from side to side of the flower, and then he knelt down and asked for the venom jar. I took one out of the backpack and handed it to him. The jar was labeled venom. He squeezed the flower's stamen, and some goo oozed out of it. The jar was filled a quarter of the way before he put the lid back on and handed it to me. He stood and searched again for something, moving to the right of the flower. I followed him and saw another flower, this one blue and black.
"The other jar,"
he said, holding his hand out. I gave it to him. He repeated the process and sealed the jar.
"Now, let's get out of here before—"
Of course, he was interrupted. The ground shook and a large thing emerged between us. I was separated from Victor, but I heard him scream at me,
"Run!"
I was on the side we had come from. I backed away from what looked like a giant root and headed toward the vines. I put the antidote jar in the backpack and ran. The root turned toward me, and I saw its head. The Hexel beast had the head of a giant flower petal, much like the ones we'd just milked. This petal was orange and red and had been under the dirt, inside the crater wall. The beast had lifted up far enough for Victor to run under. He swiped at it with his axe, getting its attention.
"Here I am, you ugly monster!"
It lunged at him, but he hid behind one of the few trees. I started to climb a vine, but it broke and I fell back into the crater. When I got to my feet, the Hexel shot toward me. I barely had enough time to jump to the side as it plunged into the wall. It was like a train-sized snake, and it kept driving into the dirt until it disappeared entirely. Victor and I were alone in the crater.
"Don't move,"
he said quietly from behind the tree. He slowly walked toward me. I wasn't sure, but I thought I heard the Hexel moving around in the dirt, circling the crater. It sounded like a faraway airplane, of which I'd heard plenty while training with Dad. My heart raced as I worried it would shoot out from anywhere at any moment.
"Go, now!"
Victor lifted me up so I was able to reach the lip of the crater. I climbed out and turned to pull him up, but the beast shot out from the opposite side and went straight for him. "Victor!" I screamed as I covered my face from the dirt that shot up from the impact. After a few seconds, the Hexel was gone again, leaving an empty crater. Victor was no longer there. I stood there, frozen, not knowing what to do. I headed for the Bethels. Surprisingly, they hadn't scattered during the attack. I felt numb. I'd lost 3 of my friends, Josh, Victor, and Champagne. How could they be gone? Before I got to the Bethels, I felt a minor earthquake just before the Hexel shot up again. It looked at me for a moment before vomiting something next to the Bethels. Then it shot out of the ground, over my head, and back into the crater. I covered my eyes from the dirt that rained down on me, and then looked at the vomit. It was Victor, and he was alive. I helped him up. "I can't believe you're not dead," I said, nothing but pure joy in my voice.
"I guess it didn't like the way I tasted. It ate my axe, though."
With that, we headed home.